Benefits of education advocate. I promote education, educators from colleges, universities, schools, nurseries, even individuals that write materials that support education, or even private educators, the technology that enhances education, the technology that is brought in to support young people who are struggling with different needs and disabilities, to make sure that the technology is supporting them to be as everybody else. I promote the life in education. If young people who feel like they don't want to do it, but they have to do it, how do we make it interesting for them? How do we support those that are struggling to go through education? Plus, we're trying to take away the fact that so many people nowadays, they don't like education. They try to see that it's not important, and promoting to young people that you don't have to do it. I've got a job without it. You know what? It's not a bad thing to say that you've got a job without even going to school, but we shouldn't promote it so much, because at the end of the day, even when you get a job when you didn't go to school, there will be barriers ahead. There are things that you won't be able to do in that job apart from just the physical stuff or the few things that you learn on the job. There are barriers you'll find ahead whereby you can only be promoted to a certain extent. There are things you won't be able to accomplish yourself. So we shouldn't really be boasting about getting employment without going to school at all. So my job, to those of you who are asking, to what do you mean by benefits of education? There's so many of us that go to school to become, employers, to become, business owners, to become into to get good jobs. And we want to make sure that when we graduate, when we finish university, we actually get into the reason why we got into university in the first place. And nowadays it's very competitive, it's very, very hard. So the benefits of education forum is to encourage all of you to go through the barriers, to persist through, to make sure that you get to your destination by supporting you, connecting you to the right people, connecting you to places where you can get experience, connecting you to investors. So benefits of education is literally pushing you forward, and that's what I'm advocating for, that no one should really go to school and come out with nothing, come out and go to the market. Not saying that the market is a wrong thing to do, but there are things that you can do without education. And if you go and pursue education for years and end up in the same place with somebody who hasn't gone to education, then you know what, that brings in the whole point that it's not important. So to those of you who are actually struggling to get in there, my job is to work with you to find out which ways can we make into to the places that we started for. I also work with universities, schools, and speak to young people, speak to those into school, and find out how we can make it interesting. How can we find support? What do we do to keep people really looking forward to education, rather than saying that it's not important? Now, to so many of you, you've heard that technology is coming. There's no more going into traditional education, sitting down and listening to someone teaching you. I mean, there's some truth in that, but the truth remains as well that there are some people who will still need somebody to teach them something. And even this technology you sit down to listen to or to be taught by, it was developed by somebody who went to school and learned how to do that. So you can't really say that we should forget education because technology is kicking in. In fact, we should be teaching people more so that more technologies, equipments can be developed in the future. So I'll still fight for education. I still say that most of you who feel like it's not important, please think about it. There's so many ways you can receive education. I spoke to a few young people who said, you know what, I would rather go into work and find work and then study while I'm working. How does that work? Of course it's doable, but it's very, very difficult, because some young people that I've been with or I've dealt with, they go to work and they're pushed by the money they receive at that moment, and they decide to give up education and not going back to school. So what I'm advising you guys, that it is doable, but you need to be able to persist in doing both until you accomplish your education and still remain on your job. Do not give up yet, because You don't know, you could be worth much more than what you're getting paid now. But what you're doing is limiting yourself from future, you know, um, payments or future higher incomes to what you're being offered now because of the level of education that you have or not having any at all. So someone else asked me a question that the number of young people that have actually given up of education, is it due to the fact that it's okay for now, people are not proud of being educated, not having anything, they're proud because they're achieving things without even education? This is how I'm gonna answer you. It is okay for people not knowing that you have education, but is it worth it for you? Is it helping you to the fact that at some point in your job they'll ask you, or a certain place they'll ask you to prove that you have education and you truly don't, but now you're saying nobody knows that I don't have education, so I don't really have to pursue it, hence I'm already into work. My reason for being here today is to encourage you to pursue education, some form of education, and have it, even though it's not being displayed. As you know, you say that I'm not gonna have a degree walking around with it. I know you're not gonna be displaying it around, but you need it. You need to have your secret weapon somewhere because you never know. And my last thing I would say for those of you who are not sure of what to study or what to choose, basically it's the same thing, what to choose, what subject to choose, what industry you should go for, um take time and do some research with people in different within different kind of different career paths that you want to take or you're thinking of taking. Find out what difficulties they're facing, what is it that they're enjoying about their jobs, how do they get there, what do they study, do they regret studying that, and try to find people of the same interests so that you can see the paths that they took and see if that is right for you. There's nothing you can sit down there and say, you know what, it's guaranteed if you study this, you're going to be the most successful person in the world. So there's no such thing, and therefore I wouldn't sit here and say, no, 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 go and study this. Even though there are some industries that always have jobs, according to the research. For example, in a nursing area, there's always jobs. I'm not a nurse and I did not study that area, but according to the research, according to what is there right now in most countries, there is a demand for that. So I wouldn't sit there and say because of that demand, go ahead and do that, because you might end up wasting your time studying something that you're not going to use, you're not going to do because it's not in you. A career has to be part of you. A job you pursue, anything has to be part of you in order to enjoy it, in order to deliver, in order to inspire other people while you're doing your job. So be careful while choosing exactly where you're going. Be careful who is inspiring you. How are you similar people? Can you manage the difficulties or the barriers or anything that could come up that people are standing? Can you manage standing or being that person? Sometimes we look at the good things that these people are experiencing and we forget about the bad things that they may be encountering during the time that they're carrying their career that we looking to get or we're looking to get into. So look at different ways that people are getting into those jobs, the problems they're experiencing, and think twice. So once again, my name is Leah and William on Twitter, on Facebook, on YouTube. You find me there. Ask me a question regarding education. You can book me into your school. I'll be available and I look forward to get your questions, and I hope this made sense. Thank you so much for listening to me. Subscribe on my YouTube channel. There's a lot of things coming every week. I'm looking forward to bring a new video. Sometimes I'll be talking about myself. Sometimes I'll be just answering questions, or giving you research that I found regarding your question. Thank you.